It's all very good for us to push people through training, but is that training leading to anything that is going to have a positive impact?
Anecdote only takes you so far. You have to be able to have the data to tell the story and to tell it in a compelling way.
This is giving you an ability to plug together an awful lot of data about both the outcomes and the befores.
And without knowing that, how do you know which programs to continue to fund over time?
That's the great revolution that we're in right now, is data systems being used for knowledge and for decision making. And it's completely a different world I'm living in.
And not just in education and the workforce, but in other human resources areas, health and criminal justice, as I'm pretty excited about it myself.
Using connected data for decision-making is nothing new. It's something every pilot, physician, or farmer takes for granted. The financial industry could not function without it. Today, we're entering a new era where the same approach is being used to help us understand our labor market, where students go when they graduate from high school, and how these choices impact their earnings. Which training programs help workers transition most effectively from one field to another. A set of signals that can help inform the actions and decisions of educators, firms, and policymakers. Information that can make all of us smarter. To do this, states are setting up longitudinal data systems. They're aggregating large data sets and building tools to help analyze important patterns and trends.
Sharing data among agencies is complex. There are regulations that prevent sharing of data, which are legitimate or arguable, and there are just technical difficulties that is not how agencies were built to do. They're built to do their work, and that's it, and report on their work.
With longitudinal data, we can actually write history with a great deal of precision. The investment in human resources takes place over a period of time, oftentimes a period of years, and so does the payout. The longitudinal analysis allows us to identify how closely we're coming to our goal of getting maximum return on investment. It's a way to make more efficient decisions.
People get a bachelor's degree, they work for 2 years, they go back and get a graduate degree. People get an associate's degree, they work for 5 years, they go back and train in something else. People get an associate's degree in something that isn't working out, they go back and get a certificate in something which is in demand. All of those things happen, and much more complicated things. Without a longitudinal system, you don't get there, either because you're limited in time or because you're limited in complexity of the events of the sequences you can follow. The old model plugged together a far smaller number of data sources for the old performance measures. This is giving you an ability to plug together an awful lot of data about both the outcomes and the befores, which enables you to be much more sensitive to the fact that it's not just this training event that's the focus of your study that affects employment, but befores, and if there are further education and training afters.
Well, without a longitudinal data system, we go back to ad hoc decision making, reinventing the data systems every time a particular program is in the spotlight or receives undue attention in the newspaper, or a particular administrator or legislator gets interested in a particular program. Without an Ohio Longitudinal Data Archive, we wouldn't have the ability to answer these questions systematically. So longitudinal data is in and of itself a necessity for government to make decisions that are effective and efficient over the long run.
Having kind of the big picture of this is what's been happening with the data over many years, that gives you an underlying story to help use the dashboards that provide more of a snapshot.
In Wyoming, one thing that policymakers are concerned about and one thing that educators are concerned about is the exodus of young people out of the state. So one benefit really is looking at where people work. So when a young person graduates high school from Wyoming and chooses to go on to post-secondary school, do they stay? If they stay, where do they work? And what do they make? And is that a living wage? So we can begin to sort of understand what factors play into the decision of whether a young person stays or goes. It takes the mystery out of that. Right now, you hear policymakers saying, oh, we're throwing this money into education, but it's not working. Well, they don't know why it's not working. And not only do they not know why, they don't know what questions to ask. So that's a huge benefit of building a WDQI system.
From coast to coast and places in between, these are the pioneers connecting data about people, learning, and work. The systems they're building can generate short-term performance scorecards. But because they collect data over an unusually long period of time, from elementary school through higher education into career, they also have the power to reveal important long-term trends. Whether we are students or educators, workers or business owners, policymakers or community leaders, this will help us make more accurate decisions than ever before about which investments will best help our workforce thrive right now and in years ahead.
Big data, because it hasn't been around for so long, is intimidating. But here are the data that show that this program actually results in higher earnings in the labor market 10 years later. That's the other side of the story.
Here is the return on your investment. Here's how we were able to help you and help our state to improve.
The areas to look into just keep growing, and the connections, not just with employment and education data, but also with human services data, correction data, health data. I mean, there are just endless places to go.
Once you democratize knowledge about a profession, you change the decision-making process in the community as a whole. You have now essentially empowered a different segment of the population and moved the whole discussion from anecdote to fact. It's extremely beneficial because everybody participates.